Hey there, welcome back to the 4 secret ingredients of a high concept idea. So we've covered the fish out of water, the looming conflict, and the hook. And now we've finally reached the 4th secret ingredient, a universal theme. Now let's be honest, how many of you hear the word theme and start to panic and have horrible flashbacks of your 11th grade English teacher making you stand up in front of the entire class and recite the theme of the Grapes of Wrath while all of your classmates laugh at you? Oh, just me? Okay then, moving on. Well, before you get too freaked out, let me tell you that the theme I'm referring to here is probably not the one you were taught in high school or college. This is a different kind of theme. This is high concept theme. Something that's found in nearly every successful high concept book or movie out there. Here's the basic definition of the universal theme we're going to talk about in this lecture. The universal theme is a universal or relatable lesson that the main character must learn by the end of the story. Now, don't get scared off by the word lesson either. This doesn't mean that your story has to be moral or didactic or boring. It simply means your story has to say something. Your character has to have some kind of internal journey. He or she has to learn something along the way. You have to give us something deeper to hang on to, something that goes beyond just the high-octane chase scenes or epic explosions or missing persons or fantastical worlds. Something that goes beyond the hook. Here's a closer look at what a universal theme is. Essentially, it's the heart and soul of your story. It's what gives your story meaning and makes it resonate with readers or viewers. All that other cool stuff, the hook, the fish out of water, the flashy stuff, that's just the shiny package that the soul of your story comes in. That's the mechanism that we use to deliver the deeper message or lesson that the character will learn. Here's the good news about universal themes. There are a limited number of them. The majority of high-concept movies and books out there use and reuse the same 10 universal themes over and over again. Yup, that's right. Sure, there are more than just 10, and there are variations on those 10, but most great stories can be traced back to the same 10 themes. And here they are in no particular order. Love, forgiveness, acceptance, of self, of reality, of family, of the past, of circumstances, etc. Faith, in oneself, in others, in God, in the world. Courage, trust, survival, confidence, selflessness, and honor. These are the heart and soul of almost every story ever told, because these are the challenges of being human. These are the things that human beings learn throughout their experiences, and therefore, these are the things that your characters must learn too, because that's what makes them human. It makes them relatable. It makes them real. These internal stories are told millions of times over and over again. They come in every different kind of package: fantasy, sci-fi, comedy, drama, romance, thriller, mystery. But inside, we're all the same, and therefore our internal journeys are very similar. The way I see it, it's comforting, not only as a writer, but as a human being, to know that we are all facing the same demons. We're all waging the same internal wars. We're all fighting to be better human beings, even our characters. You know the old adage, there's no such thing as an original story? I believe this is where that applies. Where it doesn't apply, and where you, the writer, have the most work cut out for you, is wrapping one of these universal themes in a shiny, sparkly, fresh package that we haven't seen or read before. It's the cool, shiny hook of the story that reels in the reader or the viewer, but in the end, it's the universal theme or lesson that makes the story resonate with us. So as writers, it's our job to make the outer package, the hook, the concept, the premise, as engaging and fresh and unique as possible, in order to tell a relatable, universal story on the inside. Before we get into some specific examples, it's important to note that universal themes are not always found in one-sentence descriptions, nor do they need to be there. But it doesn't mean you don't have to know what your universal theme is. I highly recommend you have it figured out before you start outlining and writing your big new idea. Trust me, figuring it out now ahead of time while you're in the brainstorming phase will save you a lot of time and agony later when you're in the outlining and writing process. Because although this theme doesn't necessarily have to be in the one-sentence description of your high concept idea, it still is an essential part of high concept, which is why I've included it as an ingredient. So you should be thinking about it now. Okay, let's identify some universal themes from some popular high-concept books and movies. Despicable Me. Here's a movie that has gained so much popularity in the last few years, especially because of those little pesky minions that everyone adores. Here's a one-sentence description for Despicable Me that actually does include a nod to the universal theme right up front. When a criminal mastermind uses a trio of orphan girls as pawns for a grand scheme, he finds their love is profoundly changing him for the better. The universal theme here is pretty obvious. It's love, and its power to soften even the hardest of hearts. Okay, well, that one was a little easy. The theme was written right into the description. Let's try one that's slightly less obvious. Here's a movie that I simply can't get enough of. Midnight in Paris, which can be described as the following. While on a trip to Paris with his fiancée's family, a nostalgic screenwriter finds himself mysteriously going back to the 1920s every day at midnight. Now, this description doesn't spell out the universal theme, but the key to finding it is in the description of the main character himself. Because universal theme relates to the lesson the character has to learn, the character usually starts out pretty far away from having learned that lesson. In this case, the key adjective is nostalgic. If you've seen this movie, you know that the main character, played by Owen Wilson, is a man who's stuck in the past. He thinks life would just be better if he could live in the 1920s. So ultimately, his lesson has to be acceptance of the present, or acceptance of reality. This is something the character will ultimately learn by the end of the movie, and it will define the soul of this story. So, at this point, you might be asking, what about action movies, or adventure stories, or thrillers? Do they have to have universal themes or lessons too? And the answer is absolutely. And for the most part, they do. Sometimes the themes of these movies or books aren't quite as obvious or forefront as other softer stories, but they're there if you look for them. Take this classic, for example. Star Wars, the original, Episode 4, which can be described in one sentence as this. Luke Skywalker joins forces with a Jedi Knight, a cocky pilot, a Wookiee, and 2 droids to save the galaxy from the Empire's world-destroying battle station, while also attempting to rescue Princess Leia from the evil Darth Vader. This is a classic action-adventure sci-fi thriller. But what made this original installment so popular and successful was the fact that there was more to it than just action and adventure. There was a deeper meaning, a lesson to be learned, and it can be found in that classic line that everyone knows. Use the Force, Luke. Luke Skywalker, the main character of Episode 4, learns an important universal lesson in this movie. He learns faith in himself and in the Force. Here's one of my own books. Unremembered, the first in the Unremembered trilogy. This book can be described in one sentence as, when a 16-year-old girl wakes up among the wreckage of a devastating plane crash with no memories, she's forced to piece together her forgotten past with only one clue to her identity, a mysterious boy who claims he helped her escape from a top-secret science experiment. The key to the universal theme in this story is the circumstances in which my main character finds herself, with no memories. Because she has no actual memories of her own to rely on, she has to learn how to trust others, even when it seems like she's surrounded by deception, which makes the universal theme of this book trust. So there you have it, the fourth and final ingredient of a high concept idea. Let's quickly recap what we've learned so far about high concept ideas. We've learned that every high concept idea has to have 4 essential ingredients: a fish out of water, a looming conflict, a hook, and a universal theme or lesson. You should be able to describe your high concept idea in a single sentence. However, that sentence doesn't necessarily have to include all 4 ingredients. High concept ideas are more sellable because they quickly convey the awesomeness of your idea, making it easier for others on the chain of awesome to sell it. So now you're fully versed on what a high concept idea is and what makes it high concept. Check out the 2 exercises at the end of this section to test out your new knowledge of the 4 ingredients that make up a high concept idea. Then, in the next section, we're going to learn specific techniques and methods for brainstorming your own high concept idea so you can come up with that big new book or movie and make money writing.